Let's go back to Africa. Let's go to Liberia. Well, I am not African. I'm American. A black American, and proud of it.
Black American people need to stop identifying as African American. Yeah, I said it. We are not African. That is the problem. That is why Africans feel so comfortable coming in and infiltrating black spaces like Essence Fest, because they think we all one and the same, one band, one sound. No, 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 no. We are natural born American citizens. We've been here for 4 or 5 centuries, 400 years plus, and we still not identifying as Americans. We're not Africans. That's why they come over here and they feel so comfortable with disrespecting us, because they think they super Africans, right? And we the little peon Africans because they got the direct source of the motherland and they know where they come from and they roots and all that stuff. Of course you do. One generation ago, you got here yesterday. You are the true African American Africans. Y'all come here from Ghana, from Senegal, from wherever, Ethiopia, whatever. Y'all come here and you get your citizenship or plant your roots, whatever. You're Africans - Americans. African Americans. Black Americans are not Africans. I don't have no Africans in my family. Period. I'm from California. My dad is from California. My grandma is from Wichita, Kansas. My great-grandma is from Wichita, Kansas. I can go back generations of Americans. That is where the confusion is coming from. And then people come from different countries and they come in our home, our house. This is our house. Yeah, the other half of our house might try to make us uncomfortable. The whites, they want to make us uncomfortable in our house. We all share in the same house. But at the end of the day, this is still our house. The visitors are coming here and treating us like we less than. We can change the narrative. It's our storyline. We keep letting other people write our storyline and then getting mad at the story. There's too many of us to not be creating our own narrative. Let's change the narrative, okay? Take back the pride in what it means to be a black American. Start highlighting our successes as a group of people, our successes, our contributions to America as a whole. Highlight that instead of hyper fixating on slavery. Let's let that storyline kind of simmer down a little bit and focus on the inventions and the contributions that black people make today and have made for the past 4 or 5 centuries while we've been in America, and start to elevate as a people. Stop letting people push us down with their own narratives and start writing our own story to elevate us as a people in our home. This is our house, not theirs. This is our home. We are natural born American citizens, and don't let nobody tell you different.
We are African, and we happen to be in America. We're not American. We are people who formerly were Africans who were kidnapped and brought to America. Our forefathers weren't the Pilgrims. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. The rock was landed on us. We were brought here against our will. We were not brought here to be made citizens. We were not brought here to enjoy the constitutional gifts that they speak so beautifully about today. And because we weren't brought here to be made citizens today, now that we've become awakened to some degree and we begin to ask for those things which they say are supposedly for Americans, they look upon us with hostility and unfriendliness. So our unwanted presence, the fact that we are unwanted, is becoming magnified in all of America's preachments today.
You know there's a difference between race, nationality, and ethnicity, right? You're ethnically African, and your nationality is from which place in Africa you're from. Your race, you're black.
Black is not a nationality. You're black. Like your skin tone, your phenotype, you're black. Wherever you go, if you go out with a black person from Jamaica, no matter where in America, they're just gonna see that y'all black. You're black because your phenotype, your
skin tone is black.
You're black.
Your nationality is the place in Africa which you're from. Your ethnicity is African.
Black is not a nationality, or black is a race. I'm so sorry to tell you, you use black. I'm so.
Let me also add, if we were all taken to go to the police, they would see us as black. They don't care where you're from. You're black.
You are a black.
This whole
person.
point is to bring everybody together, not to separate us. The different words we use to describe us doesn't really matter. But at the end of the day, we're all the same. We all have the same struggles.
You're all black. I'm so sorry. You're black.
Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. This is Hosting Stories KE and I hope you are doing very great. You are progressing on very good whenever you are watching this episode from. And in today's story, in today's overheated discussion, I want us to discuss a very interesting topic. This topic for the longest time have had the most overheated discussion online about Black Americans and African Americans. Black Americans are claiming, no, don't call us African Americans because we are not from Africa and we never came from Africa. But African Americans are telling the same Black Americans, you are Africans. You originated from Africa. You went to America during slavery in the 16th century plus. You went there as slavery. And then your first generation went there as slaves. Your first generation was slaves. But when slavery ended, the generation that came started calling themselves Black Americans. But initially, you guys are all from Africa. So in this episode, I want us to break down all these arguments and come out with the conclusion. But if we can't find the conclusion, then everyone might consider himself what he wants, whether Black American or African American. But in the meantime, let's get the views of the both sides, Black Americans and African Americans. And at the end of this video, I'll be giving my research and my commentaries at the end, and then we'll see what's next. In the meantime, subscribe and let's watch this video together, guys.
Since we're sending out reminders, this is just a friendly reminder that Black Americans are not African. We are not African American. And I'm not saying that as a way to try to disassociate ourselves from our lineage. Yes, we have lineage that comes from the coast of West Africa. Yes, that is a part of our lineage, but we are not African. We are not African American. I really just wish that we would drop that part of the title because it does not describe in full like really who and what we are. And it also confuses people about our Americanness, and it makes them feel like we are immigrants like the other people that come over here. We're not immigrants. I saw this TikTok from this guy from West Africa. He's like, he's living in the United States, and he's like, if I get tired of this place, if I get tired of this country, I can just go home. You guys can't do that. You guys can't go home. Honey, we are home. America is our home. We were born and bred here. There is no other place. There is no other country. It's just here. And this is what I'm saying. We are not immigrants. So that's why just a friendly reminder.
How y'all doing? My name is Raekwon Diamond Kamal, and I've been hearing a lot online about foundational Black Americans versus African immigrants that come here to America and settle and become African Americans. Now, myself personally, I don't have a problem with it because this is the truth. The only difference between foundational Black Americans and African immigrants is we were here longer. That's the only difference. But we are from Africa, the same as they are from Africa. You see, some blacks have this ideal that because our cultures are different, we cannot be put in the same category. Sorry, that's hogwash. That's bull. Okay? You see, black does not describe our culture. It describes our race. If you are a melanated person across the world, you're considered black. And they don't care what country you're from. I'm sorry, this is just the truth. They don't care where you're from. You're black, okay? Regardless if you're from Africa or anywhere else where your skin just happen to be melanated, they see you, they go black. Okay? So black does not describe our culture. American describes our culture. African describes our ancestry or where our bloodline is from. Okay? And unfortunately, it appears that out of all the different groups on this planet, we're the only ones that have a problem with it. Okay? Asian American culture is not the same as Chinese, Korean, or Japanese culture. It's not the same. But do you hear Asian Americans claim or deny or run from the fact that they're Asian? No, they don't. They're Asian American, and they're cool with it. You definitely don't see white people whose culture is definitely different from European culture. White American culture is not the same as European culture. Very different. But you don't hear white Americans being ashamed of their European culture. We just have a problem with it. I don't. As a matter of fact, my family got rid of their slave names and took back African last names. That's why my last name is now Kamau. And I'm so proud of my African last name. It's from Kenya. I love it. So, look, just know this. The only difference between African immigrants and us is that we were here longer. Only difference, but we're all still from Africa, making us all African American. And I'm cool with that. In the meanwhile, I know some of you might have some problem with it. I really don't care. But please, take care of yourselves and start loving one another. Talk to y'all later.
So wait, people really thought that African Americans were immigrants? Yeah, I know y'all lying. Don't immigrants go like on their own? If they, they go to a particular country on their own accord, because they may be trying to get away from whatever. We ain't come here because we wanted to be here. We still don't want to be here. Hell, we hoping that they maybe put us out and send us somewhere. Well, what do y'all mean y'all thought we were immigrants? Immigrants? Y'all know the story of how we got here? Do that make sense? Like, this world is so disillusioned about African Americans. We're descendants of Africa, but we've been here for hundreds of years. We're not first generation, second generation, third generation, fourth generation, fifth generation. Like, we've been here. We built this country. The foundation of this country is built by African Americans. We didn't come here because we want to be here. Like, what are y'all talking about? Y'all thought we were immigrants. Immigrants? Who? Where? Immigrants? I got papers to prove I ain't no immigrant. Like, some of the stuff that I hear on social media is correct. Like, for real, y'all thought we were immigrants. Come on now. Stop playing. We don't want to be here now. Get us out of here.
The people you call Black Americans are not from Africa.
Okay.
We're from America.
I mean, if that's how you want it.
First of all, I'm about to bust that dry bubble that y'all got thinking that everything and everybody comes from Africa. How can humanity come from Africa when all of Africa's food comes from the rest of the world? Your biggest cash crops, cocoa and cassava, both come from America.
I actually love that you brought that up because I can finally talk about Africa before slavery. Because yes, we did exist before slavery. And Africa, especially West African countries, had peaceful trade with South America at that time. That's why you can find cassava and stuff like that in cultural food in West African countries. Because West African countries discovered America way before Europe did, way before. And there's actually a really, really interesting interview from Dr. Even van Santima, which is from the 80s, I think. It's on YouTube, where he talks about how advantaged Africans were and their travels to South America, their trade and stuff like that, and how much Europe did to try cover that up because they were embarrassed about how advantaged Africans were. So thank you for bringing it up. That's actually, I appreciate that.
Check yourself.
Checked.
So y'all trying to claim that we come from y'all, when in actuality, some of the people in Africa come from us. Y'all never heard about Liberia?
Okay, now I'm generally a little bit confused because even when we go off of your point of saying Black Americans are not Africans, Liberia would still exist as a country, maybe with a different name, without Black Americans, because it was never an empty piece of land. There were people living there before, and it actually caused a lot of difficult dynamics and even wars when they sent back Black Americans. So yeah, just saying that they would exist without Black Americans still.
Yeah. And y'all love to say that we ain't got no culture and we don't know who we are.
I totally agree on that because even I grew up learning that Americans have no culture. That was never just about Black Americans, that was about Americans. And it took me a time to actually overthink what I've been hearing my whole life because it's simply not true. Do you have your own culture? Do I say, or would I say you are the blueprint? Absolutely not. I would never agree to that. But will I say you have a big impact? Absolutely. Absolutely, and I'm freaking proud of y'all for doing that. So yes, we should work on that, and we should definitely give Black Americans their roses because they be working hard. Shit, yeah.
So who are you to even open your mouth and try to tell us who we are?
Honestly, especially in this time, no one can tell you who you are. If you want to be a tree, be a tree. If you want to be a cat, be a cat. And if you don't want to be African, don't be African. And this might sound sarcastic, but I don't mean it in that way. Like, seriously, if you don't want to be African, that's it. And I think Africans, or we in general, got to stop telling them who to be. If they want to not be African, that's fine. I'm totally fine with us being friends. I don't need to be your blood, and I don't need us to have the same roots for us to get along. Can we just stop fighting? Can we just do that?
The people you call Black Americans are not from Africa.
Okay.
We're from America.
I mean, if that's how you want it.
First of all, I'm about to bust that dry bubble that y'all got thinking that everything and everybody comes from Africa. How can humanity come from Africa when all of Africa's food comes from the rest of the world? Your biggest cash crops, cocoa and cassava, both come from America.
I actually love that you brought that up because I can finally talk about Africa before slavery. Because yes, we did exist before slavery. And Africa, especially West African countries, had peaceful trade with South America at that time. That's why you can find cassava and stuff like that in cultural food in West African countries. Because West African countries discovered America way before Europe did, way before. And there's actually a really, really interesting interview from Dr. Ivan van Santima, which is from the 80s, I think. It's on YouTube, where he talks about how advantaged Africans were in their travels to South America, their trade and stuff like that, and how much Europe did to try cover that up, because they were embarrassed about how advantaged Africans were. So thank you for bringing it up. That's actually, I appreciate that.
Check yourself.
Checked.
So y'all trying to claim that we come from y'all, when in actuality, some of the people in Africa come from us. Y'all never heard about Liberia?
Okay, now I'm generally a little bit confused, because even when we go off of your point of saying Black Americans are not Africans, Liberia would still exist as a country, maybe with a different name, without Black Americans, because it was never an empty piece of land. There were people living there before, and it actually caused a lot of difficult dynamics and even wars when they sent back Black Americans. So yeah, just saying that they would exist without Black Americans still.
Yeah. And y'all love to say that we ain't got no culture and we don't know who we are.
I totally agree on that, because even I grew up learning that Americans have no culture. That was never just about Black Americans, that was about Americans. And it took me a time to actually overthink what I've been hearing my whole life, because it's simply not true. You have your own culture. Do I say, or would I say you are the blueprint? Absolutely not. I would never agree to that. But will I say you have a big impact? Absolutely. Absolutely, and I'm freaking proud of y'all for doing that. So yes, we should work on that, and we should definitely give Black Americans their roses, because they be working hard. Shit, yeah.
So who are you to even open your mouth and try to tell us who we are?
Honestly, especially in this time, no one can tell you who you are. If you want to be a tree, be a tree. If you want to be a cat, be a cat. And if you don't want to be African, don't be African. And this might sound sarcastic, but I don't mean it in that way. Like, seriously, if you don't want to be African, that's it. And I think Africans, or we in general, got to stop telling them who to be. If they want to not be African, that's fine. I'm totally fine with us being friends. I don't need to be your blood, and I don't need us to have the same roots for us to get along. Can we just stop fighting? Can we just do that?
Okay, I'm so confused now. What do you mean there were Black people in America before the slaves were taken over to America? Seriously? Can somebody seriously enlighten me this? So I did a post acknowledging why a lot of Africans, certainly in my case, didn't know a great deal about Americans. Is because history is completely suppressed in Africa. And a few people are commenting and saying, oh, you know, there were always Black people in America. What do you mean there was always Black people in America? Like, this is the first time I'm hearing it. Now, every research that I have done, I found that there was a group of people called the Tainos, and Tainos were found in Florida and in the islands that were colonized, and a lot of them were wiped out by the Spanish, the British, the French, and the Germans, because that's what they did. They always went round wiping populations out. But I haven't seen an account of actual Black people living in America. If anybody can throw some light onto this, I want to know. I want to read more about this.
I need you to say that one more time, brother. Say it again. I said one of the worst things a Black American can do is claim that he is African American, because if he does that, he forfeits his ability to get reparations as a U.S. citizen.
What's so bad about having African descent? My nigga, you're not Cherokee. Like this whole FBA movement, I know I'm gonna get some hate, but bro, it's so stupid to me. We sitting here arguing about who African or who not. My nigga, they look at us the same way. This is exactly what they want to continue to divide us, bro. The more we argue with each other, we not arguing at the real goddamn, target.
These are just some of the overheated discussions and arguments between the Americans, Black Americans, FBS, Black community, and Africans Americans. This overheated discussion usually comes because of the mixture of history, descent, identity, and all that. But before that, let's know who are Black Americans. Where did they come from? Who are African American? Where did they come from? And what are their view on this today? Number one, Black Americans usually means someone whose family has been in US for generations to generations. Ancestors were enslaved Africans brought during the transatlantic slave trade, mostly from West and Central Africa. Are we together right there? These people, they went to America. They have been there for generation to generation. But initially, as Malcolm X told us in the intro of this video, these people, their great-great-great-great-grandparents came from Africa and went to the US as slaves. And then the coming generation, they lived in the US for the longest and started identifying themselves as Black Americans because they had forgotten about where they came from. They have forgotten about their homelands. So they were born, this coming generation, the second generation plus, they were born in the US. So they knew themselves, we are born from the US. Now let's call ourselves the Black Americans. But in reality, their ancestors were enslaved Africans brought during the transatlantic slave trade, mostly from West and Central Africa. Over centuries, their culture mixed with European and Native American influences, creating something unique, Black American culture. Are we together right there? Yes. For example, hip-hop, soul food, slang, style, etc. Now, many Black Americans don't have direct ties to one African country because records were erased by slavery. Many Black Americans don't have direct ties to any one African country because records were erased by slavery. Think of it like this. Their roots are in Africa, but their branches grew entirely in America. Are we together right now, Black Americans? Very nice. Now, African Americans. Technically, this term includes all Americans of African ancestry. But in practice, many use it for people who are recent immigrants from Africa or their kind. For example, a Nigerian who moved to the US in the 2000s is now an African American. They usually still know their tribe, their country, their language, their customs, and their culture. Are we together? Now think of it this way. Their roots are in Africa, but their branches are now growing in America too. That is why they are calling themselves African American. Yeah? Now, why is this confusion? The US Census once published African American as the standard label for all Black people in America. But many Black American feels, but wait, I'm not African. I am America. My culture is here. I was born here. We've been living here for generation to generation. Don't call us African American. We are Black American. That is where the confusion comes in. Meanwhile, Africans and African immigrants might say, but your ancestors are from Africa. You are African American. That is the argument. You've seen that argument online. Yeah? Now, where is the difference in simple terms? Black Americans. So culturally American, historically linked to Africa through slavery, but identity shaped in the US. They found themselves in the US, so they came up with their own culture and their own identity while in the US. They didn't import this culture from Africa. African Americans recently used someone who is African by heritage and immigrant background, but now living in the US. Very nice. Proof, for example, I also did research on this one. Let's say Idris Elba, no, Barack Obama. Barack Obama, the dad is from Kenya, my motherland. And the mom is a white American. He is African American in the immigration sense. He is not a black American. Take it to the nearest bank, whether take it or leave it. That's the fact. Someone like Malcolm X, ancestors enslaved centuries ago. So culture fully American. So he is black American. Very nice. So when people say black Americans aren't Africans, what they often means is that we respect our African roots, but our lived culture and identity are different. Now, but is it true that they are not from Africa or have an African descent? Here's the deal. Black Americans absolutely have African descent. Their ancestors were taken from West and Central Africa during the transatlantic slave trade. Just as we've discussed, this was roughly between the 16th century and the 19th century. Yeah? DNA studies back up this. Most black Americans' genetic roots trace back to places like Nigeria, Ghana, Cameroon, Angola, and Congo. But that does not mean that they are African in the cultural sense today, because their culture, they found their culture themselves. They went to America many years ago. So, centuries in the US created a distinct identity. Black American, their language, tradition, food, music, worldview evolved different from African and on the continent. So both statements can be true at once. They are from African descent, biologically and ancestral. That's a fact. They are not African in cultural or national sense. That is social and cultural reality. It's like how the Irish Americans are of Irish descent, but they are culturally the same as people living in Dublin today. So, the main difference between these two people, between an African American and a black American, is that an African American is living in the US who came from Africa recently and knows the roots back in home. Back home, he knows the roots, cultures, and everything from Africa. Now he's carrying this to America and trying to live within it. But a black American is a person who has been living in America for generation to generation since the 16th century to the 19th century. They went there, but they originally came from Africa. They went there as slaves. Now the first generation got deleted and their history got deleted, which means their children and their children and their children couldn't know where they came from. So they came up with their own culture and came up with their own ethnic group, Black American. But I don't want to continue arguing, because let's make the comment section open. You do tell me what you think. Do you think African American and Black Americans are different? Do you think they both came from Africa, or Black Americans are not Africans? Tell me what you think in the comment section. Let's continue this discussion and see you in our next episode. In the meantime, subscribe and adios.